Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast for a new episode. In today's episode, I'm joined with Shelly, and it's going to be a really cool episode because Shelly will tell you more. I don't want to. Sometimes when I introduce people, I normally tell everything before we even started. So I'm going to let Shelly explain. But today is going to be about Crohn's. Today's episode. It's always nice to do an episode about Crohn's because obviously on the podcast we do things about all different kind of topics, and it's nice. It's nice to kind of link it back to where the podcast started in 2020. So Shelley, if you don't mind, just doing a little introduction of yourself.
I am Shelly Grimm. My story is along the lines of helping to take care of my mother for most of my life. She was the first female who was documented to have Crohn's disease in the United States, and it was back in 1956. So it was very surprising to me to learn that it hadn't really gotten over to the UK until really of late. So it's been something to deal with, and I feel very strongly about helping people who have really any kind of caregiving situation. It's a tough road sometimes. So I'm here to support you.
That's brilliant. It's brilliant because yes, I guess to anyone who doesn't know what a caregiver is, because I think when I first found out what a caregiver is, because people who listen might that have autism as well, because like with understanding and stuff. Like, can you just explain what is a caregiver in your experience of being one?
Absolutely, absolutely. So you've got both formal and informal caregivers. We think of caregivers sometimes as just being the nurse, right? But we really spend a tremendous more amount of time in the we don't spend as much time in the hospital as we do at home. So our care is greatly taken, the most part is being taken care of by informal caregivers. And so that's how when I say I took help take care of my mother, the older I got, the more it was just me. Statistically, if we start to break down those numbers, about 86, 87%, at least in the United States. I'd have to do a little study on what it would be in the UK, but I can't imagine that it wouldn't be similar. That the majority of probably the people that help take care of you when you're in a bad flare up or in the hospital, um, yeah, they're there. The nurses are there, the doctors are there, but really, who's definitely the one giving some comfort and care? It's the informal caregivers. We bear the emotional burden. And that's really the more heartbreaking part. The part that I saw that was a gap that was missing was caregivers, as well as the people who are being taken care of. But we know as a society that the people who are ill need our help. It's a little harder with the autoimmune diseases to know that. We cry continually by Crohn's Awareness Month, you know, Rheumatoid Arthritis Awareness Month, the different things that we are, I think the color purple is one of my very best friends had rheumatoid arthritis and she had her hair dyed purple because that was the support, that's their color. So, there's different ways that we try to bring that type of awareness for the disease itself. But I think the unsung hero here is sometimes the caregiver themselves because they've got more than just probably that person to take care of. And in my situation, in the latter days of taking care of my mother, I had two small children and I was divorced. So I had, I was a single parent um, with my mom and, just not the best of situations, but it was what it was. So, I have made it my mission and just to your point about, we do different things on the show. Oddly enough, my oldest son was born on the spectrum. So then I had a special needs child along with my mother with Crohn's, and only me to take care of the both of them. And then I had this child who didn't have anything going on. So that's how I came to be the perpetual caregiver. Um, but where do they go for resources? Because it's not like when you're caregiving for someone, it's the same problem all the time. Like
Yeah.
we all know we get prescriptions messed up, right? I mean, they don't have it, it's out of stock, we can't get it till Monday. We're out of it now. I mean, that's the road, right?
Yeah.
That's the road we know. But what if something comes up in the middle of the road and we don't know what to do? And that's where I think the perpetual caregiver and my new brand of helping in this area and establishing this collective of people to assist me. My I've had a great career in both financial services and legal, and I think I'm going to be able to take those two industries and make something wonderful out of it where people that I know that have a heart. It's hard to find people with hearts in both those industries, but I've found a lot of people with hearts, both attorneys and insurance agents. So I'm going to pull those out from across the nation and have them get involved with me too, because they too believe in purpose over profit. And I think we can get some good things done. And in the meantime, we're going to be helping the people that have the illness too, because the caregivers are going to be helping them.
So it's a very good like support system. Because you're right, like but when you get diagnosed, even when you get diagnosed with an illness, even when I was diagnosed with Crohn's, in 2017, um, they didn't they did- get you handed a leaflet, right, and that's it.
That's it.
That's it. And then even like I could say my mum was my caregiver because she was the one fighting my corner to try and
We're advocate.
like
Yep.
yeah, trying to get seen and appointments, pushing to get these appointments when the doctors weren't doing it. They didn't want to do it. So it's hard. People don't think about that, do they? Like you think when you're diagnosed with something, or like when your mum was diagnosed with something, it's hard enough for her having it, right? But it's
Right.
also
Nobody even knew what it was.
no, it was, but as well for you or any people caring for people who have a chronic illness or autoimmune diseases, they don't know the impact on them. It impacts the whole family in a way differently.
Oh, it does. It is a ripple effect. I talk about that. And we'll talk about this at the end, but I talk about that a lot when I'm speaking to groups about the ripple effect. And when you go, because what happens with, especially when people have been incapacitated more so than or has a chronic illness, because what we're used to is somebody has a bout, not necessarily with, they don't understand with a chronic illness that a bout's going to happen all the time. But with just a bad illness or injury, they go in the hospital, they get better, and then they come out. We visit them 2 or 3 times at home, and then they're out and about. But with what we deal with, you may not be out and about. You may be in for a good while. And then when you're out, it's quick, and then you're back home. And they don't understand why that is. But why are you going to explain that to them? It's embarrassing. So it's one of those things where it's not even comfortable to talk about the Crohn's situation. You could say if I'm an epileptic, oh, I might have a seizure.
Yeah,
So it's not even comfortable to talk about the Crohn's autoimmune.
yeah,
Um, we had this weekend college football, and one of the kickers for the University of Auburn University has just been diagnosed with Crohn's. And I've reached out to the athletic director. They did a whole piece on him for college game day, and he has a stoma. I mean, he's right at the point where he has a stoma, and he's the kicker. He kicked. So, I mean, got to be proud of that.
yeah.
He's fighting through it. He's down on his weight. I think he said he's 50 pounds underweight right now for his game weight, but he's fighting through it. And that's the kind of attention we need for this kind of disease. The statistic they gave on that show, one, let's see, 50 people a day get a bag in the United States related to Crohn's and colitis. So now that's not necessarily permanent because a lot of those, as we know, they, can reverse them when everything's calmed down in there. But that's still so many for so little that people understand.
Yeah, it's quite dominant, I find, especially recently, like with people having bags with Crohn's. Like when people do get it though, when they have Crohn's or colitis, that is one of the fears. The two normal fears come when you get diagnosed are having surgery, right,
Yep,
and having a bag.
big time.
Um, and you type Crohn's when you get diagnosed, and then it's all hell lets loose on the internet. But if I
Yep,
was to
first
get a
thing it
bag,
says.
yeah, if I get a bag, it has to be permanent because of the type of Crohn's I have. So,
Right.
like like patchy pans, was form of Crohn's. So,
Yeah,
um, I I have to. I mean, I don't. So my goal is to not have it, but I might have it later on in life.
you're
Uh,
saying when, not if.
yeah,
And you're just saying, let's put this off for as long as I can.
yeah,
Because they are coming up with better, I'll call it equipment. They are coming up with much better. This kid showed his, and I was like, whoa, that looks so much better than my mother's did.
like with medication wise, really, since I've been diagnosed, like the tough drugs, I like strong wise is a lot, but really like maybe biologic wise,
Hmm.
I've only had infusions. I went from infusions. That's what I went to start with, and now I'm on Humira, which I've been on ever since.
Yep.
So really, I've only been on. But I take other drugs in the morning anyway, like azathioprine and stuff like that, and vitamin D. But for those biologics, I've only been on two. So really, there's lots more out there before a
Yep.
bag is even thought about. So yeah, when it comes to it, if it comes to it, it comes to it.
And and they're making stuff every day. I mean, that's, we know, right? We know what the cost of medicine is, and most of that's research and development. So they're making new stuff. They're not stopping. Obviously, with as many people as are being diagnosed with it now, they're definitely seeing it as a huge problem. So I don't anticipate. I mean, you may go your whole lifetime and never have to get it because of the new medicines and stuff that are coming out, and that's wonderful. We've done that in less than 100 years, So, um, I
Yeah,
think that's great.
it is good. Like all the all the things that are coming out because like sometimes I'll get asked to have a blood test if like to just to test like on certain things because sometimes they need blood cells
Hmm.
with people who have Crohn's. So
Yeah, and see
some
what yours look like in comparison to
yeah
theirs. They may have been diagnosed at whatever stage, and yeah.
yeah yeah. I mean like years ago I hated blood tests, but now I don't mind them and I have a conversation. I know pretty much the whole blood test department at my
Yeah,
hospital.
yeah, the phlebotomist see you coming and say, "Oh, there's our
Yeah.
vampire."
But
So, yeah.
it's not as frequent as it was like when I was really bad, but it's like every few months now.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I do like to. I don't mind talking to them there, but sometimes I just want to go.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
like
Yeah.
they'll ask you like, what's your plan for the evening? What you've been doing? And then you have this conversation. But then when you have the conversations, it takes longer because they're concentrating on what you're saying.
Not what they're doing. You want to be in
Yeah,
and out of there in 5 minutes, which
yeah.
they can do it.
Yeah. And if I see a new person, I said, How long have you been here then?" I've been here a couple of years. And I said, "I haven't seen you here then."
Yeah. Where'd you come from? A couple of
Yeah.
years. I've been coming here for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Well,
But
you've really managed it well. I had when we met one another the other day, when I got off the call, I told my husband how impressed I was with you, and it it really confirmed for me that the things that I've decided to do with this brand um, has been the right step. And I feel really good about it. So
Yeah,
for
it's
you to
good.
say, hey, that's a great thing you're doing, I need those affirmations every once in a while.
It's good to see people helping other people. Um,
Well, it is. And I just felt like it would be crazy for me to pick something else. Like if I picked, I don't know, blindness. If I went and did work for the Lions Club here is who does work for the blind people. If I said, "Oh, I'm going to be a big Lions Club oh, is someone in blind in your family?" No.
yeah. But speaking of blindness, actually, a while ago, like when you reached out, I had someone else reach out. They wanted to come on, and there was a blind person, right? Because we like raising awareness of all different type of things, and
Yeah.
blindness comes into that as well. And
Oh, yeah.
I never had a guest who's I've known people who have been deaf, or maybe been a little bit blind, right? But not completely blind. So this person was completely blind. They came on and they look at you, and we have this conversation, and I'm like, "Can you see? Can you see me? Because from my point of view, you can." But they was like, "No, I
No.
can't see a
But
thing."
he looked like he was
Yeah,
looking at you.
yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like he's looking at you, and I was like, "So you can't see a thing?" It's really impressive, and they told me the whole how it all happened, and a bit like what you're doing, like from what's happened in your life to kind of helping other people. Like he's doing the same with like other people that are blind.
Yeah.
It was really cool. A bit gruesome to what actually happened.
Yeah.
To get him blind. But I didn't mind
His was
that.
due to an accident. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think those are
accident.
worse than my next door neighbor, her daughter had, I think, scarlet fever and got too high of a temperature, so she lost her hearing at 4. So she read lip. They didn't know she lost her hearing at 4. They didn't ever know that she lost her hearing. She was reading lips until she was 21. And then they figured out she was deaf. So at 23, she had titanium implants put in. But she was just so good at reading lips that no one ever knew she was. So she's a special education teacher and a social worker. Go figure.
Oh, that's brilliant. Um, Yeah, because I sometimes I go do speeches and stuff about maybe about Crohn's, maybe about autism, and so we have this person at the front, um because there's a few deaf people in there, um
Oh,
and
getting like sign language.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like sign, like, so you have this sign language person doing all these movements with the hand and everything. I mean, I thought it's really good for people to do that, because I mean it's you've got to learn a lot to know these
Oh, yeah.
movements
Yeah.
and what you're actually saying. You've got to be really fast. And if you do a meeting online, you'll always ask for like captions, like to
Oh,
what you're
yeah.
actually saying as well. Because I think it's really impressive. Like, it must be really hard for the people who are deaf as well, because they've got to try and read what you're saying, especially if you're talking really fast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and they just really concentrate on the signer. We
Yeah.
had a group that used to come into a restaurant I used to manage years and years ago back in the 90s, and they were all deaf. They went to dinner once a week with each other. There's 12 of them. And then they actually went to a little corner bar around the corner, and just had their night out. But they were able to, socialize with one another, and so they didn't have to worry about people trying to talk to them. We all knew. So,
Oh,
but
yeah, that's good. Um, so with your so you're first ever person in America that has Crohn's.
well, my mom was. She was the first woman.
The first woman.
There were 4 other men who had been documented up in the Northeast, back up in Massachusetts, which they had excellent medical care in comparison to the rest of the United States up there. Um, the Northeast has, New York City and the Mayo Clinic, Mount Sinai, some really excellent facilities. But we weren't there. We were in Amarillo, Texas. And although Amarillo, Texas has some teaching hospitals and some satellites from Lubbock, Texas, where we have Texas Tech University now, medical school, there was none of that then. And on top of that, my mother didn't have health insurance. And we don't have you know, unified care, universal insurance. We don't have any of that. So, um, really, and kind of as you know, just with the disease itself, it doesn't do you any good to be admitted to the hospital. I mean, that doesn't help you. I mean, unless you're obstructed, it doesn't help you.
Yeah.
So the majority of the time, that's why she was at home and I was taking care of her. And I didn't do so much for her other than take care of myself 100%. You know, get yourself to school, get yourself ready for school, get yourself everything. Um, and then I did get my driver's license early, and so she could just rest. That was really, and you could probably understand that completely. It's like, think about yourself having a little kid all the time
Okay.
coming over to you and going, "Can we go somewhere? What are we doing? Wake up!" You know.
So,
Um,
so what year at school was you in? Like how old was you at like the time when your mum was getting diagnosed?
my mom had already had the disease for 7 years. Uh, no, 9 years when I was born.
Oh,
She was the first woman
yeah.
in that we know of in the world to have Crohn's disease, active Crohn's when she had a baby. And that was my sister, not me. So that was in the Journal of American Medicine Association in JAMA. That's why I say documented because that's, now we've got Chat GPT. We could throw that in there and say, hey, um, her disease came along so long ago that Dr. Crohn wasn't even the one that they've now named it after him. But before that, it was called ileitis. It wasn't called Crohn's disease. So there's the ileum in your small intestine, and that was what was impacted for her. So they called it ileitis.
Yeah. I think Crohn's is a bit more better though. Like name wise.
Well, it is, but it's because Dr. Crohn was
Yeah.
the one who it's named after the doctor. Which I
Yeah.
mean, tell me, we couldn't gotten something a little easier to spell.
Yeah, I know. It's
But
like as soon as you get diagnosed, you think it's CH, not
I know it's
CR.
like CR, no CH, no
Yeah.
CROCH. I don't know. I mean, you just kind of have to keep doing it, and then you finally realize you got the right one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's come a tremendous amount of way. But our situation was always, of course, with her not having any health insurance, we were going home for sure. So we would pull through there, like almost like drive through Demerol shots, just to get her enough pain medicine to allow there to be some comfort before she could get to see her regular doctor on Monday morning. And so it was really not um, physical care, other than, of course, I helped her. Her strength was always zapped. Um,
Yeah, so
but
you get really tired for either doing nothing or doing something.
right, it doesn't matter. She broke her hip in the hospital. She was in the hospital for 3 months, and they moved her to an infection, and they moved her to a hospital room out of ICU. And this is 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And she got up to go change the air conditioning temperature in the hospital room. And it, you'll probably, this will probably resonate with you, but it was like all of her energy just left her body. I mean, like, I just can't stand up anymore. Here it goes. And she fell. She broke her hip in the hospital. So she was in there for another 3 months. But her bones had gotten so soft because she'd been taking prednisone for so long that they were having trouble doing the surgery. They said, we're afraid because when we put, you know, pins in there and stuff, it just kind of is like jello. There's nothing to really
Yeah.
latch it to. So that's the other thing that people don't realize is that, you're not treating one thing. My mother had 3 pages of notebook paper, one online, every line of medicine that she took every day. And I went to the hospital with her one time. I met her over there. One nursing home she was in actually broke her leg in 3 days. And I met her over at the hospital, and the ER doctor said, "Oh my God, her pharmacopoeia is unbelievable, but I can't take her off of any of these because they're all to counteract the effects of something else. And I just don't know what." So,
Yeah. It's really annoying sometimes because for some reason I couldn't walk. I was poorly with my Crohn's, but I think I can walk, and then all of a sudden I go to the hospital and I do all these tests, didn't find anything. Then I end up walking when they were going to inject me with something, like because I weren't moving, and I had to
yeah,
move to kind of get the blood flowing, and I was like,
yep,
I'm not having any more. I've injected enough as it is because of the Crohn's anyway, and this
right.
wasn't Crohn's related, I don't think. I don't know what it was, but then.
Well, your metabolic syndrome, you can have that where your metabolism is all flipped around. That happens often with Crohn's because you can't absorb the nutrition. There's just it's hard. You've only had it a short time, but I'm telling you, my mom could pinpoint it because she'd had it so long. She was like, "Oh, I know what's happening." you know. And then by the end of her life, she was being fed by total patient nutrition by an IV. Um, and that was giving her 5,000 calories a day um, by an IV. So she lived with that like the last 4 years of her life.
Yeah,
So,
it's a really hard sometimes, isn't it? Like you see what people do go through. Like as well as like even if you are in pain, right? You
no.
know, like like most places in the UK, like say if even if so say you go to A&E if you're in pain,
Hmm.
and they'll treat everyone else first. That you can see the injuries, right?
Because they can see a broken
Yeah.
arm.
And yeah, I'm always saying that there should be a place for people to go for Crohn's, other than ringing
That's right.
IBD nurses,
Mhm.
because a lot of the time, right, people don't know what they're doing, and like you're waiting for these answers and you don't get them. And that there should be other procedures, other ways to go about things. Because even so I think this might have been before my Crohn's, or might have been in a flare with my Crohn's, one of the two. But
Right.
it was when I was having the burning pains. In the night it was, and I was that in pain. I had to go to the hospital to A&E. So what was happening? We went maybe in the night, maybe 1 or 2 in the morning, but still was there the whole night. Basically slept there.
Yeah.
And
In
you're
the
not,
lobby.
yeah, in the lobby, and you're not getting seen until probably hours later. And
Yeah.
it's like it's like you go for your say you go on a holiday for a plane. It's
Hmm.
like you get there and they say, oh, it's been delayed like
Yeah.
10 hours.
Yeah. Just
That's what it's
wait.
like.
Just wait. Just wait. Just wait. Well, and that's the other thing. I think one of the things that I discovered more so than I'd acknowledged while I was writing the book is just how much my mom walked around in pain. Um, I don't think I had, I mean, I think I knew, but I don't think I really knew. Um,
Yeah. So
and
with your
I think I
book,
really understood now.
yeah, with your book, when did you? So
Oh, yeah.
when was it
Oh,
written? When did you put it out?
um, okay. So I actually started writing my book in January is when I actually started putting it. Well, wait, maybe back up. I started writing my book like 30 years ago, but I kept getting, and you hear every writer say that, right? Oh, I've been writing it for a long time. Well, I'd started over twice, but every time I would get to this one particular place, it was the time of my life from right when I entered high school until I left Amarillo. I never could get that into paper or onto paper without really knowing that I was going to go down a dark hole of depression. So I just always, I didn't have time for that. I was busy raising kids and chasing around playgrounds and all that stuff, ball. And my son went and played Division I ball. And, so we didn't have time for me to get depressed. So I just waited. Well, my brother passed away a couple of years ago, very unexpectedly. He's my older brother. And I just felt like I really needed to go ahead and get that book done because it's going to be a series. And I got a ghostwriter, and I was able to tell her, and then me go fall apart for the next 2 weeks while she wrote it, and then come back and tell her some more and go fall apart for 2 weeks while she wrote it, and then say, that's not right. That's not right. So it was bittersweet, but it's a dark comedy. It's a tragic comedy, my life from age 5 to 17.
So,
And
what is the book called?
some asses just need wiping.
Yeah.
You don't know me well yet, but soon you'll understand. My next one, I've already named it. We're going to start it in January, but as I said, it's going to be a series. So all of them will be named Some Just Need. So somewhat just need what. So the next one is Some Loves Just Need Leaving.
Yeah.
I had a lot of them in my 20s and early 30s that needed leaving. I left a lot of them. So, and they come with their own problems that I took care of. So, hence the perpetual caregiver. But one of the things I do talk about in that book, Mason, that I think you'll find very interesting with regard to the caregiving factor, the reason that I've written it more specifically than anything is that I was under the radar. No one recognized how much responsibility they were putting on me. My dad was giving me the child support check, and I was paying all the household bills at 13 with my own checking account in my own name. I couldn't have given my 13-year-old anything to do like that. We'd had the lights off, and all it would be working was video games. But neither here nor there. 13. At 14, I was driving. I had my license. We got a hardship license.
Oh.
At 15, I became legally emancipated and I moved out into my own apartment. At 16, my mother went to Oklahoma City. I moved back into the family home. So that never should have happened. Those things should have never happened.
No.
And so in the book, in my beginning chapters especially, I talk about the ways that I'm being groomed, and I don't mean it, like how people talk about pedophiles grooming people. I'm talking about grooming for caregiving. I was being groomed for that. They didn't even know they were grooming me. It's not like that. I got praised for doing the things that I was doing really well, which were taking care of my mother. Well, I loved her.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was doing the things that were bringing me pride
Yeah.
and bringing her comfort and making everybody else happy. So where's the loss?
Yeah. Because it wasn't your at that age. It's not your job, is it?
It wasn't my
It's not
job.
it's
I
not
had
your
an older
job.
sister. It wasn't her job either. But she didn't do any of it. She lived with my grandmother. And so when it was very difficult, it's been very difficult. I I haven't actually um, ever been able to put profit, PROFIT, over whatever my purpose was. My purpose is always taken front and center for anything that I've done, hence being in financial services. A lot of people at the level that I was, they made really exceptional money and they never entered into the executive wing, right? I took the executive wing because I wanted to change things on the back end. Things needed to be changed on the back end of insurance companies. And I needed to find out what was going on back there. So now I'm doing consulting work and I do it for big insurance companies. And actually some of them are overseas. So I needed to see what was wrong. Something was definitely wrong. And so I was able to, in two Fortune 50 companies, able to, really get behind the scenes. And so I just feel like I have a unique perspective um, on some of the absolute hardest things. Spent tons of time in a hospital, worked at Tulane Medical School, worked for doctors, so I just really think I have a really unique perspective, and I think it's paid off for my clients. Now I just want it to pay off for a whole lot of other people.
Yeah, kind of sharing your story
Yeah.
about like how it like has impacted you like for
Hmm.
most of your life, and just because your mum isn't here still, it doesn't mean you're gonna
But
stop
that
talking about
right,
it.
right.
You're gonna continue talking about it, and not just do it by books, by doing it like this and
Yeah.
all these
Yeah.
different ways. But books are a very good way to do it though.
Well, they're a good start.
Yeah.
I find if you probably haven't, because I don't know if it came out before you. I think it came out before you were born. But it's called Who Moved My Cheese? Have you heard that book?
No.
I only tell you, yeah, no, I think it. Um, but anyway, it is a great book. It only takes about an hour and a half or so to read. But what it talks about is when things are changing and how we respond to those things. And it has four characters that we read and see which one we feel like we're the most like into how we respond to change. And I had to read that book when I was an executive at AXA, and they were getting ready to sell Equitable to AXA, and they wanted us to understand what was happening. So they gave us that book, told us to go to lunch, read it,
No.
come back, and tell us who we thought we were. And everybody that thought they were either a him or a ha was terminated right then. So that'll give you an idea. Um, change is always happening, and the ones who can kind of jump in there and be resourceful instead of sitting there going, "What am I?" Those are the ones who are going to rise above the fray and actually get things done. So that's the other thing. I want to bring the people, there's going to be about 30% of the people that are caregivers. No matter what they do, they're going to be successful. They're going to get everything done. They're going to take great care of their people, and they're not going to have a nervous breakdown. Somehow, some way, they're going to be like me. They're going to
Yeah.
get it done. There's going to be another 30% that I don't care what kind of tools you give these people, money, they'll never be a good caretaker. Get them out. Find somebody else. Let's give them some resources that get them off of that task. Let's find other resources. Maybe it's that we need to talk to who they're getting taken care of and say, hey, you got to go into a facility. You're going to die here. So maybe that's what we need to do with those 30%. But then there's this middle 40 that with just a little bit of help, they could get up into that with that 30%. And that's who I'm shooting for. Those are the people I'm shooting for. The ones who are just out there, like we said, they've read the book, they've developed a plan, they're trying to execute it. Life gets in the way. Well, how can I take one or two things off your plate or give you the resource instantaneously to know where that might be so that you can actually make progress? I keep calling these people and they won't talk to me. Well, let's quit calling those people. Let's call somebody else. So that's part and parcel of what the perpetual caregiver will be doing as well.
It sounds really good. And yeah, it sounds really good stuff that you're going to be doing and what you have been doing. But yeah, it sounds really good. But before we go, Shelley, could you give some any last bits of advice that you would give from being a caregiver to maybe people that who are caregivers?
Yes, you have to take care of yourself. I learned that way too late. I finally, about 6 or 7 years ago, I finally set up my own self-care routine, and it's different for everybody. Some people like to exercise. Some people like to jog. Some people like to play board games. Some like to go to bingo. I mean, everyone has a different hobby or how they find peace within themselves. You've got to do that for yourself. You've got to find a self-care routine. Mine is a massage, yoga, things of those nature. And for me, once I started doing that, I started being a lot better caretaker. I started being able to listen better and respond calmer. And I wish someone somewhere had told me that it was important for me to feel my best so that I could feel my best for those around me that I was responsible for. So that's the one thing that I think most caregivers, and we hear this, but we don't hear it. We hear it from people who don't have anything to do. We hear it from people who um, are telling us that as they're getting ready to leave and go home and be by themselves for the rest of the evening. So we're kind of like, yeah, okay, we'll do that. I'm telling you from a person who never had any time, and I found a way to do it, and it saved my sanity. So that would be my advice.
So take more care of yourself.
Take
Yeah,
more care of yourself.
that's very good advice because you spend too much time maybe thinking of the people you're
Everybody
caring
else.
for, yeah, everyone else, and not as enough on yourself, which you need to
We
do.
we think we're being selfish when we do that. That's how we were raised, quit thinking you're only yourself, you're not the only important person here, all that kind of stuff we hear, right? It's not all about you. But when you're the caregiver, it kind of really is all about you and them. So
Yeah, that's it. But thanks, Shelley. It's been really nice speaking to you, and I'm glad we were able to do this. But yeah, it's been really good hearing about like your story, your mum's story. Yeah, thank you for
it's been
coming on.
good. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. And to anyone watching or listening, we hope you enjoyed today's episode.
If
It's
they
a
want to go to my website, theperpetualcaregiver.com, and they fill out the submit form coming from your webcast, I will send them, if they request it, I will send them a couple of things that I have from the perpetual caregiver that can help them organize their finances if that's something that they'd like. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, a very good offer there from Shelley. If anyone wants to do that, get in touch. And if I'm sure Shelley will send me the information as well.
I will.
But yeah, thank you again to Shelley. And to anyone listening and watching, we hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
Bye.